what is up, guys? It's Timon here today, and today we are back with another video. So, guys, you guys have probably seen me on social media. I'm a full-time content creator, and in the back end, I run a academy, which you guys would have probably heard of, Gifted Academy. And on my right-hand side here is my good friend and also business partner in the Gifted Academy. So I'm going to very briefly summarize it, like very quickly. So in our academy, we technically help people build personal brands and then leverage the personal brand by building a business. So there's two very important components here. On the one hand, there's building the personal brand. That is my passion. That's what I love about. That's what I nerd out about. Jay, my business partner, he helps our clients on the business side. So he is almost exactly the way I feel about social media and personal branding and content. He feels about business, AI, and all of the nerdy stuff between us. Yeah. So that's his department. And in this video, I would like him to discuss a little bit more about what actually goes on that end, on the business side and the AI side. And the reason why we kind of work together is because we both are very big on do what you absolutely freaking love. Like, I'm passionate about content. He loves business stuff. So when I wake up and I'm bored, I watch videos of like Gary Vee. Well, I'll just like go edit videos or look for new content ideas, new editing styles and structures. When he wakes up and he's got nothing to do, he listens to business podcasts and studies funnels and reads about AI and the new technology and stuff. Something which I definitely don't know anything about anymore because it's changing so fast. 2-3 years ago, I had quite a lot of information about it because I was actually doing it. But since we partnered up, I'm not doing it anymore since, well, he's doing it. So, Jay, I'm going to give over to you, bro. And I want you to just take us through some stuff that's happening in the world, some updates on the business side, AI stuff. And then, like I said, I'm very stupid when it comes to this stuff. But every now and then, if you talk about something which I maybe need more clarity about or don't understand, I might just intervene a little quickly and just ask you to just explain that. So, yeah, bro, over to you.
Yeah, we'll keep it simplified throughout this process. Yeah, been working on that. So, anyways. There's a few things that are really important that I want people to understand here. And I'm going to start at the business level of things. So whether you are running an organization, corporation, whether you are internet entrepreneur, nomad, kind of traveling all around the world, living a laptop lifestyle, there are a few things that are important here for us to understand. With the development of technology, and Tim might have mentioned it on the previous chat or podcast that we've had, but the whole point is here, I am aware of these things simply because most of my time is spent in the business building, the tech world, that kind of thing, which allows us to, like, I'm around a lot of people with really big businesses, and we advise and we go through processes there where we, obviously help make sure that the thing makes money and obviously it scales effectively to certain objectives and goals that are set out. So with me saying that, I just need you guys to understand the following, that all this stuff that we're doing, I'm going to start at a business level with Silicon Valley. What happens in the tech world, just usually, is that this whole lens of Silicon Valley, what happens is that we have, obviously you have the guy that goes out, starts the business and helps the economy in some way, brings money to the economy, right? But the whole point now is the Silicon Valley model. When you go out, is what they try to optimize for is and this is why I will latch it to AI, and it will make sense on the automation side because Silicon Valley's goal and the brains and the mindsets of San Francisco, whatever, like the whole point is that the tech world operates like this. We build something and technology-wise, it evolves. So if you don't evolve with the tech, obviously you get eliminated. And that's the painful nature of this reality which we live in with technology, because they will push, break, so that they can optimize getting a human out of the loop in that world. What will happen is that I create a hiring software or something. What am I doing? I am creating this software, I'm creating this technology so that there has to be less humans in that process, right? Now, that's the reality of the stuff that we're facing with the evolution of technology. And that will come obviously on the business level of things, which we're going to look at. But whether we are, trying to start a business or whether we're going to work for a big company, we have to be aware of these things. And because all of this AI stuff, which we'll break down in a few, it's just literally what has sped up this whole process 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times faster in terms of where things are going. Just to give you an idea of why I'm saying this and why I also thought, okay, cool, this would be a great topic to just chat with you about, because, when we have these chats offline, like we always do, it's like we value things that are important, and if we don't have a perspective of someone else that's aware of this thing, then we kind of lose track of that. Like you just said, like you will lose track of this thing because you're spending so much time here, or I will lose track of this thing because I'm spending so much time here. And that's just an awareness level of stuff that's happening, right? So I guess that's also why that's important to a point. But with all of that being said, it comes down to this following thing. When we are going out and we're trying to build something, all AI will do for us is it will speed up that process. If you and I no longer have to go out and do the physical things which we used to do, right? And you've built an agent or you've built something that just goes out and does it for you, what do we do then? Like, where does that place us? What does that render us invaluable? Because at the end of the day, I just kind of want your perspective on this one thing before I kind of move to the next thing, is that this whole world of AI is rapidly evolving, and most people, 90% of people, aren't even aware of it, right? So you will see that there's job cuts. There's been over 400,000 people in the past 24 months that's been let go off of Amazon. Like, you can go check it up. You can go see the amount of people that has been automated throughout that process, been removed. And there is Google, there is like all these big tech, like they've been cutting teams. And also, my last point here is that you will see now recently there's been stats that we pulled up that I just found when I was like obviously bouncing around on the internet, like doing some research, is that tech-oriented companies, they have cut their team sizes. And last year I spoke about this. I said that all sales and marketing-oriented teams, engineering, whatever, it's going to get shrinked simply because of this whole evolution of stuff, right? And AI is just whoop, excelling all this stuff, and it renders us in a space of understanding, like, okay, that if we don't pay attention to this right now, if we don't share it with the world, then some people are really going to get hurt. Like, both of my parents are teachers, and I know how they're going to get impacted. I know it. Like, not right now, I just know how they're going to get impacted. And that brings me to the point of just asking you the question, like, with me sharing this stuff with you about AI, on a moral or an ethical, how do you feel about it? Like, what does that mean? Because it makes us feel a bit weird. Like these people are playing with this technology that's so advanced and is pushing like this fast. What's your general view on it? What do you think is like, just a general view, man? Like, it's, because based on limited understanding of things, I mean, it's not having to give a definition of a thing. It's just usually we see and view things certain ways. It's like, do you actually think that it might be important, or how do you view it, or what do you think?
I think it's scary, right? Because it's new. I think it's going to have a similar effect than when the internet started for the first time. People were scared and people didn't know what was going to happen. There were all these conspiracy theories, but I think ultimately AI is obviously artificial intelligence, which obviously moves really fast, faster than humans could ever move, right? That's in basic terms. But the thing is, it's still ran by humans, right? Like, humans create and develop the thing. So, and because of that, I think that AI is going to be very similar to internet in the sense that the people with morals and ethics who run it are going to do some really important things, and it's going to do some really good in the world. And then there's also going to be some bad folks running certain aspects of AI. Again, I don't know how it works, but I just know whenever humans involved, there's always two sides of the coin. That's why right now, as we're sitting here, there's someone using the internet with something like Google Maps to find a destination for a meeting, which is something really valuable, which we need to use. And there's someone also watching porn right now as we speak on the internet, because it's operated by humans. I think from my lens, which is not a very detailed lens of AI, I think it's going to be very similar in terms of there's going to be good and there's going to be bad to it. And then it's obviously up to people like you to inform people like me and us, so we can better understand these things in terms of what is the good, what is the bad, what is the ugly, you know. And at this time, with the internet being developed as much as it is, if I asked you what are some downfalls of the internet, like, we can come up with some things because it's been in here for a while. But if I ask you what are or someone asks me what's going to be the downfalls of AI, I can't tell you because I don't know. It's not applicable in my personal life to the extent that I know just yet, you know, not where it impacts me daily. I think as a content creator, someone who builds a personal brand, deepfakes is obviously a massive thing. I've seen some of the biggest things of like Joe Rogan saying the most funny stuff, and it's funny now and stuff, but that scares me, man, because there could be someone who looks just like me saying things which I wouldn't say, and that scares me to death as a content
Yeah,
creator.
you just need enough content about someone to make a fake about someone. So you can scrape content of people on the internet, and like you said, you can create that thing, which isn't you. And there are so many complexities around this. So I'm going to talk about things that I believe is important for you guys just to be aware of. And I am going to talk about some really touchy topics. And this is me just sharing it with you guys, so you take it with a grain of salt, and whatever like line you run with it. It's just super important that you guys become aware of this. Whatever you do with it, it's up to you. And if you guys are really wanting to look into more of this stuff, there is going to obviously be something that we will leave down below for you guys to look into it. There is a school group that we're testing, which you can just go and see it for what it is. There's tons of stuff in there just to help you wrap your head around it. So the whole point here is that we went from this perspective here. So AI, the word AI, just from my side, is that AI thing has been around for actually quite some time. Now, we've only recently become more aware of this tech, this alien tech, whatever you want to call it, simply because some people want us to now know it. You see, when someone introduces a new piece of technology into the world, there's this adoption curve that you just mentioned, right? Some people in the beginning, like crypto or anything, would really understand this piece of technology for what it is. They're deeply involved with it. They love it, right? And then they will be earlier adopters of this thing, which we're having this conversation about right now. And then they will be able to educate or maybe share bits of pieces of knowledge about that thing. And then later people will, come to terms with the thing and wrap their head around it. But this AI thing, the reason why I'm talking about this like this is because there are so many people who are going to get effective, like on a large scale, about this tech simply because of those things I just said in the beginning. I could only understand this once I could actually understand what the word, there's many different definitions about it, but when I could wrap my head around the word intelligence, and once you then take it a step down, what is artificial intelligence? And when you take it a layer below that, what does that actually mean for people in the everyday work? Like if we when we're building a business, we're running in terms of, we're operating in between systems, machines, and we're working in some sort of a loop with people. Like this thing over here allows us to do work with other people, which is running in a system. And so these things are baffled my brain when I really started to go deep into it, like I fell in love with this stuff simply because of understanding how important it is to really know where it's going. What can we do right now so that we are not at the detriment of the evolution of technology? Because if you and I even don't do this, or if anyone doesn't do this, there will be someone that does pay attention to it, just simply how we've evolved. I mean, when we had gear, like back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, we would go out, there would be one guy that's a big guy. Then he would be great at doing something. Then you would have the guy that's the archer, and he would be great at, hitting the thing. And then you would get the guy that was maybe good at sword fighting or whatever. But then they would go and they would hunt together. They would go out together because they made a good team to bring back the resources. Not only to defend, the big guy could basically maybe take on 3 other guys or whatever the situation might be, but this is just how we've evolved. We've already had technology. That thing there is a piece of technology. This here is a piece of technology. And in the last 100 years, we literally went from having that, hunter-gatherer style, to literally putting stuff on Mars and having flying vehicles or machines or whatever. There are a lot of stuff that you and I might not even be aware of that we don't have access to, but I need you to understand one thing, because I want everyone to understand one thing. How we get information works like this. There are some people that are very smart, and then they would release, so AI, for example. We only got access to all this cool AI once people wanted us to get access to all this cool AI, because they understood long-term what this will mean for people. Now this is a bit conspiracy, a bit woo-woo, if you want to believe this or not. This is my view on it. What happens is that if you introduce someone to a new piece of technology, and it's that weird and that'll have that big of a impact on society, is that if tomorrow in any country, if you see walking robots around, them telling you what to do, people would freak out. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys with guns walking around there, they would freak out. But how do we get used to that? Is they would introduce us a movie about it. Like they'll say, hey, look at this stuff. Like, hey, look at this stuff. Terminator becomes normal. Like this becomes normal. And that's just a way of thinking. I'm not saying that's the truth. It's just a way of thinking. Because how would I condition the society to really not get that big of a shock? and to all of a sudden just start listening to your robot friend, or to start listening to your robot girlfriend, or to your AI girlfriend. You should definitely watch the movie Her if you haven't watched it.
Interesting, bro.
Yo,
Very interesting movie.
that's like it's mad. But anyways, this brings me back down to this point. We went from having that stuff in this 100 years to having stuff on Mars. So if we can move that fast in 100 years, and in this last space of the 2 years, which we've moved so fast, imagine what that's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now. And then these are the things that are going to be impacted heavily. Like, and I've actually put down a list here, and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I'm just going to mention a few things. Like people in the space of like law, like content creators even, like if they don't pay attention to the technology, how they can use it, they will get impacted heavily.
Do you know how content creators will be impacted?
Yeah, so right now, and this is an interesting test that we've ran, there's a project that I'm involved with that you know about in the technology world, but there, so firstly, to give you a prime example of this, is that we tested AI created content. Like you can go out, make a fake person, and we tested actually that content. It's like, how would you see it? Fake person or not fake person, that thing exists there, it speaks, right? Now it gives a marketing oriented message, whatever that marketing oriented message might be. Now on the low level, you can go out and create content. So content creators, you basically, if you're not using AI, you're competing with AI. Because all these other guys that are smart or whatever, they're simply gonna pump out content, right? Because why? Algorithms on the level of understanding, there is still, you're going to hear my point now, on the personal branding side, you'll have a lot more impact, obviously. But on a low level, businesses, guys, people, whatever, they're using these tools to generate content, to put out on the internet, because it feeds the algorithm some sort of a way, obviously because of their monetization structures with the ad structures and stuff that they have, right? So this comes down to just really understanding that the way that content creators will be impacted is because they're competing against AI. Like, but if you focus on obviously what we go through in the academy in terms of like just really understanding how do you position yourself as being unique, that you can actually stand out. That's why there's this window
That's why
available.
authenticity is so important.
100%. That's why there's this window is important, because you and I, we both know that, or I personally, I like tech. I love or like tech or whatever you want to say it, but
Obsessed.
I don't want to be, this conversation which we're having right here, I want to have that. I don't want to sit here and chat to a robot buddy of mine that's going to tell me how to think, or that's going to tell me how to, because that's where everything is going. So most people is going to have this agent kind of thing, that this agent is not only going to help you clean your house and do stuff, but they're going to run companies. They're going to do this. They're going to become the CEO. They're going to become the CMO of stuff, because that's how good it is. You give it a task, you give it an objective, it's like, great, I'm not going to stop until this thing is done. And why? Why are these people going to get impacted? Because look, think about it from an organizational top-down perspective. Why do people, that's why I started with that Silicon Valley point. It's not just Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley models that based on tech, but then other businesses want to model that too. Why? Because as soon as we remove a human out of the loop, you have less overhead. You have now a machine that doesn't make mistakes, or at least doesn't make as many mistakes, or it doesn't need to eat. It doesn't need to have sex. It doesn't need to it doesn't have needs. It just has a goal and an objective, and you push the button. And you tell it what to do, right? You like, ooh.
I can just imagine this from perspective of a business owner. If I had like a little buddy here and I was like, bro, send 1,000 emails to get us new clients or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, that's insane.
Exactly. So right now you can do that, but it's going to get to that point of really just like, let's say the AI CEO or whatever. You have the AI CEO, it's there. It tells you what to do. If you don't do it, he checks up on you based on the little objective list that you have. Oh, you didn't do this. Well, now we're going to go find a new person because like, oh, these are the things, these are the rules, and you didn't do this, and I can check up on you on every single little step that you trace on the internet. So I'm just saying, like, people are going to get heavily like impacted through all of this stuff that's happening simply because of how people think, operate in a capitalistic structure, and how does that then place us in a position to actually do something? How do we...
Do you think that what you just mentioned now about all this is going to happen in your time, like in our time?
Definitely. Like that's the weird thing. That's the weird thing about this. That's why I also really told you that Alpha Camera, we somehow need to talk about this stuff. And not because I'm like, you want to become this, whatever. But people need to know this. It's simply because the chats that I've had with people about this stuff, they think it's just like another piece of technology. It's just like a crypto, or it's just like a this, or just like a that. But they have no grasp of understanding of how it's going to impact the actual economic structure. And this will bring me to my next point, which is, and you can also go and fact check this and look this up, is that Sam Altman, okay, Sam Altman himself, the head of OpenAI, there's been so many little mini wars between Elon Musk and Sam Altman, because in the beginning, Elon Musk was actually part of that gang, and then stuff didn't
Are
align.
you team Elon or team Sam?
Oh, definitely Elon. Like I see Sam's game and I see what he's doing, but and I don't have disrespect or anything for Sam Altman. It's just I would much rather want to meet Elon than I would want to meet Sam Altman.
South African.
I have a lot more respect for Elon. So it's just how they do things. But anyways, so my point here is that, and I will pull this up here somewhere, is that Sam is for this thing called UBI. And if you have paid attention to all these people that have these big podcasts, a lot of them has been hinting towards it. And I've talked about this 2 years ago. Why? Simply because when this new introduction of this technology is here and we understand how it's applied in our own lives and how it's going to affect everyone, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a marketing bro, it doesn't matter if you're a sales bro, like you're going to get affected with this. Like if you aren't great at this, at people to people kind of thing, you are going to get steamrolled, because at the end of the day, that is going to be your advantage. But my point with UBI is just this, and I've mentioned it now. Everyone has been hinting towards UBI. Like even Joe Rogan recently, he was on a few different like things what I listened. He hinted towards it too. They were asking the question about what does it look like if everyone got the same amount of income? What does that look like? Why? Because Sam Altman is pushing towards that via AI, right? He thinks in this perfect world, everyone gets the same amount of salary, everyone's great. What does that do to people up here? If everyone would get the same amount of money, let's say 80% of people get the same amount of money, and the 20%, that thing already exists like that, right? This elite structure that everyone always talks about, they have all the money, whatever, and they tell you what to do. Now, that's more control for people, right? Because I give you cash, you just sit in your lane, you just do what you do. Maybe you go play golf 6 times a week, maybe whatever, do your little thing, get your wife, go do whatever you guys do, we'll just run things. That's how kind of
like
that's
Sims, bro. It's like the game Sims.
It's exactly. And I mean, there are many theories of people that say we live in this, this little game of this simulation, which is a topic for another time. But these are how these tech giants, not just tech giants, but these people that tell these tech giants what to do, that's how they view things. Where do you think all this capital comes from for these guys to do stuff, right? They get told, hey, push this. And that's obviously all this media stuff with the woo-woo stuff, with the conspiracy this, conspiracy that. That's not what this chat is about, but it's just an awareness cycle. I mean, go look up. You see these things, which I will post here about the UBI, about Sam Altman having a world coin, and about like all these different things which will come to the awareness. What will that do to people, in my perspective? We as people, we go out, we have some job function. Our job function or our work function is, I go out, I create a purpose. Which we've talked about on the previous episode. We go out and we create a purpose for what it is that we need to be doing. Based on that purpose, we then can create different things throughout a structure and a process. But once we basically remove that purpose and we just get money, here's your $200 allowance or whatever throughout this process of a system or something, what then happens to us? Like, what happens to our meaning? What happens to the stuff that we do, like the stuff that we value, because now everyone's just getting the same amount of money, right? And then this brings us to a point of really understanding, well, what's going on, Like, what is the next thing for us? So the people who just understand how to learn and how to communicate, that's why I've just been punting this for the last 2.5, 3 years, or whatever the situation might be, is like, just learn how to communicate with the technology. Because if you don't, there is going to be someone that's going to learn that is going to evolve with the technology. And then it's simply just because you weren't aware of this and now you're going to get affected. I mean, them removing you from a job, which I just showed all this tech stuff that is happening throughout this process, they don't care. It's an economic decision for them. They do not care. And that's why I also wanted to make this last point in terms of a principle by Adam Smith, which is the invisible hand. It's just an old school economist. And based on the invisible hand theories, these like, everyone here on this planet have economic motive. Why they do things, it's fine. But however, how we've been trained through school, we've been trained to be right. We've been trained, you have to go out, you have to be right. When we're building a business, you don't necessarily have to be right. to make a success, right? We go through things, we learn, you keep going, you keep providing value. But with all this AI inflection, it just literally brings us to a point of understanding that if lawyers are going to get impacted, if teachers are going to get impacted, if content creators will get impacted in such a way, how do we actually have an advantage to sustain what we do, right? How do we actually provide real value to people? Because these things, they just float around. People that do physical jobs too will get impacted. All these people that work at the till point, all of them, what happens when all of them lose their job, right? What happens when all these people that work in the factories lose their job? Not even that, but it will happen at a high level too, where if you did not pay attention, then the guy that did. Your marketing bro that did pay attention will be the guy that gets the job. Your sales bro that did pay attention, he will get the job above you because you were just doing your thing, right?
I think that's going to have, can you imagine, first order consequences, these people lose their jobs, right? But second order consequence, can you now imagine you're a father of 3 kids, you don't have money. What are you going to do? You're going to start robbing places. It's going to be chaos. They're
Exactly.
going to burn. It's going to be, and that's why in South Africa we have so much poverty and stuff. I think we have an unemployment rate of 40%, something like that. It's astronomical. It's in the top 3 in the whole world. So it's and that's why we have so much poverty. And, if you're not from South Africa, people always ask, Johannesburg is so dangerous. And there's some really good areas too. It's really not like that. But what I'm saying is poverty is already pretty high here, right? You can't leave your phone anywhere. You just cannot do that. So what I'm saying is, can you imagine that 40% unemployment dropping to 60 or 70, the chaos that we would have around here?
Yeah, people, there's big budget in terms of the industrial, the military industrial complex. On the global scale, they get tons of money. There's and this is why I just wanted to quickly chat about this to kind of just bring this conversation to a point, because we can keep talking for hours and hours. But the whole point is that all these thingies that happen around the world, right? These wars, it's something that have happened through the evolution of time, based on natural resources, based on your access to technology, based on how people are evolving. That's that conversation can go on for hours as well. But the whole point is the people that you see steal, people would always try to say, oh, they're such bad people. Why don't they just sort out their life? Well, the whole point is, based on Maslow's hierarchy of the needs, what will happen is that if you don't have food, water, shelter, you don't care about anything. You literally operate based on those things. Because if we wake up today and we can't go and eat, we don't have water. That's why they cut these things, when they have these little lockdown thingies, they make it so hard for you to get access to those things. But it just brings us to a point where, that becomes a thing where we get people to panic or whatever. But this is why it pushes all this stuff, right? It's it will have a large effect on people, because that's where it starts. Once we can tick those little boxes of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we find love, we can do those things, then we can only start thinking and have self-actualization for ourselves. Then that's why it's so hard, because this is also a cool one, which I just want to, we've actually scraped the surface with this one just offline, is that what will happen is, right now, people that are effectively working 9 to 5, right? Many of them, just based on conversations that we've had and data that we've observed, is that people want to actually do their own thing, but only after they've realized that they've made some money, or in the beginning, some guys are early, or whatever the situation might be. It's because they get time to think, they get time to learn, watch, observe. But 90% plus of people, they're always busy. They're sitting in traffic in the morning. From a certain, there's actually some numbers that you can check on how much time you waste sitting in traffic. But anyways, so you sit in traffic, you waste time. You get to the office, you're busy. You do your thing. You have tasks, you have objectives. Then you get home, you may be a little bit tired. You maybe go work out, great. But then, come back. Then you want to work on your own thing. Then you're already tired. Then it's okay, you maybe get an hour of work in, effective work. Then you're oh, it's already time to go to sleep. Now you repeat the same process again and again until you've made some money. Then you're okay, great, but now I don't want to work for this boss anymore, or now I want to do this thing anymore. And that brings you to a point of really just understanding, well, I'm either going out on the weekends, doing some sort of activity, staying busy, just staying busy because that's what other people are doing around me. And then that's what a lot of people are struggling with. And whether you've struggled with this, whether I've struggled with this, I've just noticed this pattern amongst people, and it's not something that I've actually done sitting in the traffic a lot. I've sat in the traffic when I went to university. Obviously I dropped out, but the point is, that's the biggest thing that actually irritated me, I guess, from that process. I was man, I'm wasting so much time in this Like what am like I could do something here, you know? And then that's what brought me to this point of really being able to drop out. And this is connecting all these points just to make a point about why all of this stuff is important, man, because at the end of the day, it's like our view on what we really want to be doing. Like how can we do it better? How can we make sure that we look after our people? How can we make sure that we don't just look after our people, but look after our people's people so that we can actually make some sort of a difference, right? Some sort of a difference. So I don't know what your take is on that, but I guess we will kind of bring it to terms there. Do you have something to kind of just add to that?
No, no, not really. It's not really my area of expertise, like I said, but I definitely want to thank you for just bringing awareness to me, because even to myself, you know, and we're even business partners, but we've got such different passions in a way. So we don't always talk about this stuff, but it's even opened my eyes to thinking like, man, like I should probably even think about this myself too. And it definitely, you know, as we were talking, my brain started oozing off, like imagine an AI here and this. And it's just good to have those thoughts come to mind, you know, just like consciously being aware of what am I doing, what am I doing? And as you were mentioning opportunities and like AI taking over, I was just thinking of, man, like all these routine jobs where, and teachers are prime example, because every year I always used to ask my teachers, how long have you been a teacher? You know, like 15 years. But don't you ever get tired of teaching the same thing over and over? Yeah, but you get used to it. I'm like, man, those people can be replaced in a second with AI because they do the same routine task. And yeah, all I'm trying to say is my brain is now also kind of thinking about all of this stuff, which I never do. And I'm hoping all of you guys think about this stuff too. And I definitely encourage you guys to do some research about it too and spend some time on it.
Yeah, and like I said in the beginning, when we bring value or when we bring awareness to someone and you guys actually want to look into more of this stuff and actually take action, we have now created that thing for you guys where you can go check that out. It is a school oriented group. The link is down below, but that will where I will tell you to really begin of thinking about a structured way of how you can approach solving that problem. Because again, the main problem that I see a ton of people have, and just based on conversations and what the market has been telling me, is that all this stuff is there. You can go create a successful e-com business. You can go and create a successful personal branding, but with all this stuff that's happening, if, like I always tell people, it's like, man, if you don't have an AI team, guys that sit on it every single day, you will not be able to keep up. There is no way. That's how fast it's moving. And even the guys that have a 20, 30, 40 man team on AI, they're even still behind. So the whole point here is that if you don't take that action to basically put yourself in a position to help yourself and then to help others, like you are going to get left behind. And that's just the soul-hearted truth, because the people who are proactive, the people who create the future, first understand all these implications of the things that are happening, and then they just stick to a path, and then they just go. Like they literally just go. So this will just bring me to my last point here, is that, you know, if we are aware of the thing, and if we do nothing, then that is our own fault. Like, it's just what it is. But until you become aware of it, you do not know, because we only know what the point is you don't know what you don't know. And based on top of that, what I've now realized that it's not too much about what you know, it's about what you know ain't so. So, yeah, that's how we'll end this last one. And yeah, man, thanks for sitting in, thanks for giving your perspective, and thanks for sharing these things also with the world.
Yeah, man. From my side, same to you, dude. Thank you so much for sharing the stuff on a topic which I believe is so important, but we definitely are not educated enough on, myself included. So I really appreciate it a lot. Guys, I'll end this video off by saying, doesn't matter where you see this video, Instagram, TikTok, whether you see a short from it, the full video on YouTube, doesn't matter. Wherever you see it, please comment down below some questions you have. I probably won't be able to answer them, but Jay will gladly answer them and perhaps even make videos about them in the future. So comment down below anything you have, guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and we're out.